Welcome back to Football Daily, ladies and gentlemen, where today, finally it returns. We're talking about the Premier League. Today I'm going to be looking at one player from every single Premier League club that has shocked me so far this season. Now, it could be in a good way, or it could be in a bad way. I'm leaving it out to interpretation. I also put a tweet out to get some thought starters going. So thank you to everybody that sent in some ideas. Should we crack straight on? Let's crack straight on before I make any more mistakes. Alright, for Arsenal, there was quite a few names I could have picked from here. I'm not going to lie. I could very easily have selected William Saliba. Didn't expect him to be as good as he's been and have the impact that he's had at Arsenal. But no. Granit Xhaka it is. I mean, since he's picked up this new role in this slightly more advanced position, he can't stop scoring and creating goals, can he? I think it's 4 goal involvements in the Prem this season. That's more goals than yellow cards, which, trust me, is a rarity for Granit. But let's have it right. Xhaka has been very good for quite some time now. The reason I've picked him out, I think, in terms of shock, if you want to do it around the title, is because of those goal involvements, because of the chances he's creating, and because of the amount of time he's spending in the opposition box. Really impressive start to the season, and you know, from Granit Xhaka's perspective, the turnaround has been monumental, and hats off to Mikel Arteta for it. We had a positive shock for Arsenal. We've got a negative for Aston Villa. It's Felipe Coutinho. Now, I have to say, quite a lot of us at Football Daily were raising our eyebrows in suspicion when Aston Villa agreed to pay the fee to Barcelona to make this move permanent. Some of us were quite positive about it. Some of us were quite negative. To be honest with you, I can't remember where I came down. I was probably quite positive. It's not working. This is a man who classically creates lots of chances. He's really high energy around the box, and we're not really seeing that at the moment. No goals, no assists so far this season. He's taken 9 shots. Only 4 of them have hit the target. Kind of speaks to where he's taking these shots from. It is very classic Felipe Coutinho. Lots of pot shots, and when he's on it and they fly top corner, it's amazing. When he's playing on a struggling Villa team, it can be quite wasteful. My bigger concern is physically, he just doesn't look quite there. I think he's had 45 duels so far this season. He's lost 29 of them. I don't know, there's just not something doesn't smell right here. And I can't quite put my finger on it. Villa fans, maybe you can let me know why it's not quite working. But yeah, it's not been the start you would have hoped. At Bournemouth, I actually wasn't that aware of who I was going to say here. I had to take to Twitter because I just haven't watched loads and loads of Bournemouth. I almost said Philip Billing, but I was pushed towards by the Bournemouth fans, Chris Mepham, who has obviously stepped in place of the likes of Nat Phillips and Gary Cahill. He was kind of seen as their understudy last year, but he has taken strides forward this year. Clearly, he is a very good defender in a low block, high clearances, high aerial duels won, high blocks, all of that good stuff. 2 clean sheets this season doesn't seem like loads, but when you're Bournemouth, every block matters. And Chris is putting his head on the line, so I'm saying Chris Mepham. At Brentford, it's hard just to look past Ivan Toney, isn't it? I mean, I think it's not shocking necessarily because I knew he was this good, but he has shocked me with his ability to sustain it through a second season. I wasn't sure whether he was going to be able to keep getting better, keep scoring goals, but it looks like he's improving week by week in the Premier League, which is pretty much all you can ask for. 5 goals in 7 games this season. Of course, 3 of those did come in a hat-trick. But where he's really excelling is actually in his build-up play and his link-up play. And he's actually starting to create a really high number of chances for Brentford, despite the fact he isn't, always constantly involved. I mean, if you look at his goal contributions in 2022, there's only 4 players who've had more goal contributions than him in the entire Premier League. I think that's Kane, Son, KDB, and actually it might be 3 and he's 4th. I think those 3 are the only players that have got more goal contributions than him in 2022, and that's incredibly impressive playing for Brentford. For Brighton, it's going to be Pascal Gross. I think he's been their best player this season, and that shocked me. I wouldn't have gone into the season saying that it's going to be Pascal Gross, who is sensational for Brighton. I might have said Moises Caicedo. I might have said Enoch Mwepu. I might have even said, one of the centre-backs, Dunk or Webster. But no, Pascal Gross has basically led the team at this stage of the season. He's got the 2nd highest expected assist in the entire Premier League. 3 goals in 6 games. He just looks constantly dangerous. Huge workhorse off the ball. You can't ask for more of a professional than Pascal Gross. And that hasn't necessarily shocked me, but I think his pure output has shocked me at Brighton. And, they've been pretty much impeccable at the start of the season. and it's largely down to him. All right, at Chelsea, I'm going negative. I'm going Edouard Mendy. He's just shocked me with some really poor displays. Now, that's not to say I think he's a bad goalkeeper necessarily, Edouard Mendy, but I don't know what's going on there, whether it's a lack of confidence, but it's only 1 clean sheet so far this season. He's conceded 9 goals. There was that big error leading to a goal, and it's his general sort of ability on the ball, confidence on the ball, confidence to pass out from the back, decision-making that's really started to worry me. Like, a couple of seasons ago, when he took over from Kepa, I thought, wow, they've really found their goalkeeper here, Chelsea. Now I'm kind of thinking, that's an upgradable area again. At Crystal Palace, I'm going for Doucouré. Shocked me with how quickly he's fitted into this system. I thought it might take some time to bed in, but it just hasn't been the case at all. He looks a total natural in this Patrick Vieira side. 93% tackle success, upwards of 90% pass accuracy. Really, really good at keeping the ball simple, playing it to better players than him, and that's exactly what they needed. So, yeah, Doucouré's been bloody great. Who would you say for Everton? Alex Iwobi. I'd agree. I would agree, Spooky. I would say Alex Iwobi as well. I think he's been one of the best players in the league. Now, he's already matched his output from last season, which I think was a lowly 2 assists, but in this new box-to-box midfield role as an 8, he's just awesome. I love watching him. Most chances created of any player outside of the top 6. Good tackles and interception numbers. Super dynamic. A great ball progressor. I hate to say it. It really pains me to say it, but Patrick Van Straaten did say play him as an 8 when he was at Arsenal. He's now being played as an 8, and he looks bloody phenomenal in there. Love the midfield combination that he struck up with Amadou Onana and with Idrissa Gueye. I'm excited to see James Garner get a go in there as well. But I just can't believe how good he looks, man, for Everton. What a brilliant start to the season for Alex Iwobi. At Fulham, very easy to say Mitrovic, isn't it? It's a bit boring, so I've actually gone for Palhinha. I think Palhinha has come in, again, a little bit like Doucouré, and really shocked me by how quickly he's taken to the speed of the league. Because this Fulham team, as a whole, have really shocked me with their quality. Marco Silva has got a really talented group of players there that are willing to work their ass off for him. And none more so than Palhinha. You know, most tackles in the Premier League. I think the most tackles per game in Europe's top 5 leagues. He's averaging over 5 tackles a game. He's also just a pressing demon. I don't know how long he can continue to run this much in games. He's an absolute pressing demon. And I'm not sure how Fulham got hold of him. You know, Wolves obviously wanted him, didn't get him. He's ended up at Fulham, and he looks great. Get down. I'm trying to shoot a video. At Leeds, a lot of Leeds fans were saying Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson. I was very tempted by those guys, but I just wanted to shine a little bit of light on a player who shocked me with his fitness, really. Marc Roca obviously didn't get loads of game time at Bayern, not only through injury issues, also because of the quality of players ahead of him. You know, it is hard to break into a midfield that contains Leon Goretzka and Joshua Kimmich. But he just has taken to the Premier League like a duck to water, hasn't he? I think it's the 5th most progressive passes in the entire league. And the players ahead of him, you know, KDB, Cancelo, Trent Alexander-Arnold, them the likes of Marc Roca. That's pretty impressive for me. In a Leeds team that have had major turnover in the summer, losing Calvin Phillips, losing Rafinha, to have Marc Roca come in and just settle everything down, playing alongside of Tyler Adams, keeping it very simple, but also with some excellent line-breaking passes. It's just shocked me how good they've looked. Leicester didn't want to have to do it. I did, but it's Danny Ward. Now, I don't want to just kind of pile in on Danny Ward like everybody else is doing, but, you know, worst save percentage in the league, 22 goals conceded. I actually didn't have as much of an issue as a lot of people when they sold Kasper Schmeichel. I thought it was probably the right time to move him on. And if you look at what he's done for Nice, you know, he's been dropped. He's looked absolutely horrendous. It might well have been the right decision. What probably wasn't the right decision was not replacing him and choosing to give Danny Ward a go between the sticks, because the presence isn't there, the connection to the centre-backs isn't there, the ability to stop like any shot isn't there right now, the domination of it's just not working for Danny Ward. I think maybe it's time, you know, just to give him a little bit of a rest, because at the moment, Leicester are in free fall, aren't they? And I just don't think Danny Ward is quite cutting it. Although I really do hope he improves, because I feel like it's quite tiring just seeing everybody batter him online. There's obviously a good goalkeeper in there somewhere. Maybe he just needs to take a little step out of the limelight. Okay, Liverpool. I'm also going to go for a negative one here. Now, a lot of people were saying, you know, Trent, were saying, talk about the midfield. I'm actually going to say it shocked me, Andy Robertson. I don't know what's going on here, but he's completed one full 90 so far this season in the Premier League. That's very un-Andy Robertson form. I'm aware he's kind of picked up this knee injury recently, but he has started to come off at like 60, 70 minutes to allow Tsimikas to come on in that role. He just doesn't look like his normal self in that final third either. Liverpool fans, let me know in the comments below what you think is going wrong with Andy Robertson. But it wouldn't be a surprise to me to see Tsimikas take his starting spot. Now, if you just said that to me 12 months ago, 18 months ago, I'd have said, you are mad. You are mad. He is the best left back in the world. Nobody's touching his spot. Now, I think Tsimikas deserves a run in the team. And that is pretty much the definition of a shock for me. At Manchester City, I could have gone Haaland, but is it a shock to anyone? I don't know. I'm going for a negative one. I'm going for Kyle Walker. Now, Kyle Walker for me has been one of the best right backs in the last decade of Premier League football. He's incredibly sound defensively. He's a physical phenom. I've never really seen a right back that is as fast, as strong as Kyle Walker, able to cover space in behind as well as Kyle Walker, or at least not for years in the Premier League. This season, I think Sam Obaseki said it really well on Sunday Vibes, and when he said it, it kind of did start to make sense to me that he just looks like he's lost a step of pace, especially in that Newcastle game when we saw Alan Saint-Maximin run away from him. But there was also a moment where Joe Willock got on the outside of him and was able to outrun him, and I think to myself, you know, classically, I never see Kyle Walker get outrun. In a physical battle, Kyle Walker wins 100 out of 100. This season, you know, only a 50% tackle success rate, only 2 clean sheets in 6. And, you know, for Man City, I'll say it, for Man City, 6 goals conceded in 7 is an uncharacteristically large amount. I think they conceded 26 across the course of the entirety of last season. They're on course to concede 10 plus goals more than last season. And, I don't know, Kyle Walker just a little bit like Andy Robertson. Something doesn't feel quite right there. For Man United, I'm going to bring it back to the positives. Now, there's a couple I could have had in here. To be honest, more than a couple. Malasia's been a big shock to me. His quality immediately. Scott McTominay, really wanted to talk about here because he has been a huge shock under Erik ten Hag. Keeping Casemiro out the side. He's been one of Man United's best players so far this season. But I'm going for a different one. I'm going Diogo Dalot. I'm going Diogo Dalot because I cannot believe the amount his game has improved all around under Erik ten Hag. This is, for me, the biggest shock. I didn't think he had a future at Manchester United, Diogo Dalot. And maybe that's harsh because he wasn't given the opportunities, but now I'm looking at a player who looks extremely well-rounded in that right-back role. Most tackles for United this season. Most interceptions for United this season. Most chances created for United this season. I think that might be level with Bruno as well, but you get my point. I would never have said that about Diogo Dalot a year ago. Now we're seeing the development of a really solid-looking right-back. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar. I'm not going to say he's United's right-back for a decade, but he looks solid. And that's a bit of a shock for me because I ain't seen a solid right-back at United for time. Newcastle, I'm going Fabian Schär. Now, I'm going to say Fabian Schär because I was surprised to see how much he started at centre-back at the expense of a player like Sven Botman, who's come into the side, to be honest with you. You know, I was expecting to see a centre-back pairing of Sven Botman and Dan Burn. I know it's 2 left-footed centre-backs, and maybe that's a little bit naive of me to think that, but Sven Botman being kept out the side by a partnership of Dan Burn and Fabian Schär is a shock to me. And Schär's looked great. He looks really, really solid in this Eddie Howe side. You know, 41 ball recoveries, over 300 passes, 29 accurate long balls, which is really solid for a centre-back. For me, Fabian Schär has been a shock. I mean, maybe I'm wrong in saying that, Newcastle fans, because you guys were expecting to see Schär and one of the left-footed centre-backs, but just my opinion, I thought it would be Dan Burn and Botman in there, and it hasn't been. For Nottingham Forest, I'm going to go for Nico Williams. I just think he has filled the void left by Jed Spence really adeptly. That was a big hole given Jed Spence's attacking output, and Nico Williams looks very, very solid, not only going forward, but also going backwards. 61% tackle success rate isn't to be sniffed at. At Southampton, I'm going for the man himself. I can't stop talking about him. This Bella Kotchap. This lad. Oh my God, he's so good. He's so good. It's absolutely no surprise to me that Germany have called him up to the national team. I could see him going to the World Cup with Germany if his form continues like this for Southampton. He has got every attribute you could want from a centre-back. Not only is he physically commanding, massively tall, he is amazing on the ball, really intelligent, a brilliant game reader. I cannot believe how cheap Southampton managed to pick up Bella Kotchap. It's not going to be long before he moves to a team that is playing Champions League football extremely consistently. I thought Mohamed Salisu was one of the best young defenders in the league. Southampton have another young defender who's even better. Now, you know, when Livramento comes back and they've got Livramento, Bella Kotchap and Salisu there, it's such a talented young defence. It's crazy. That has surprised me. Not only Bella Kotchap, but the ability of Southampton to build that exciting young defence is crazy. For Tottenham Hotspur, I'm going for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Now, the reason he shocked me is because he's maintained his place, first and foremost. I thought Yves Bassoum would come in and immediately displace him from the team. That hasn't happened for a number of different reasons. Number one, Bassoum has had some injury problems. He's also had some tactical issues, according to Antonio Conte himself. That worries me a little bit. But Højbjerg has been a monster this season in Tottenham's midfield. No wonder at all he was nominated for the Premier League Player of the Month. He's not only looked great in his classic warrior defensive tackle and interception mode, Højbjerg, he's looked a little bit more expansive this season, especially when Bentancur has had injury problems. You know, I think it's 2 goals, 1 assist so far this season. It's not something you classically say from a sort of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg position. So, not only is he good defensively, he's looked a little bit better going forward, and he just is back to his best. So, hats off again to Antonio Conte, because I had him as a substitute this season at Tottenham. For West Ham, I could have picked a number of different players negatively here. I've ended up going for Jarrod Bowen. Now, last season, 36 games, 12 goals, 10 assists. What's happened there this season? We're 7 games in, he's yet to score a goal. He's had 15 shots and only 1 of them have hit the target. I was talking about him potentially making a move to Man United this summer. That looks a long time ago. Now, it's not just him at West Ham. It's not just him, because they've won 1 of 7 Premier League games. I saw the Telegraph article yesterday talking about David Moyes potentially leaving the club. It's all a bit wrong there, isn't it? I could have had Declan Rice in this one. I was tempted to put Declan Rice in this one because when I've watched West Ham this season, as phenomenal as I think Declan Rice is and how brilliant I think he'll be in the future, he's not having a good season. And he's not playing well. So I could have had Declan Rice, but just because Jarrod Bowen's output was so impressive with 20 plus goal involvements last season, and that drop-off has been so marked, I've had to go for it. At Wolves, we're finishing with, obviously, one of the defenders, still got the best defensive record in the Premier League, and it's Nathaniel Collins. I know he had the disaster class against Manchester City, where he decided to go full Jackie Chan on Jack Grealish's chest, but prior to that, he just looks like a brilliant acquisition, doesn't he? From Wolves to be able to go from a back 3 to a back 4 with just the 2 centre-backs of Max Kilman and Nathan Collins, and let Connor Cody leave has been sort of smooth as a transition goes, because that could have been a real problem for Bruno Lage, but it's been a very smooth transition, mainly down to the fact Nathan Collins is absolutely immense. I think it's 3 clean sheets in 7 games this season. He just wins all of his duels. He's physically dominant in the air, and he's also brilliant with the ball at his feet. And when he plays alongside left-footed Max Kilman, who's also brilliant with the ball at his feet, probably from his futsal days at England, you have a really dynamic centre-back duo. And hats off to Bruno Lage making that work, because it wasn't easy to go from the club captain, who had been there for years and years and years and extremely experienced, to Nathaniel Collins, who, you know, was highly rated, but had just gone down with Burnley. Alright, so that was my list of 1 player from each Premier League club that has shocked me in either a good way or a bad way at the start of the season. Let me know who has shocked you from your club in the comments below, or maybe from a rival club as well. I'll be responding to as many as I can over the course of the first hour. If you enjoyed this button, If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. There we go. Hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.